We know that why do we use redundant links or redundancy? Just because to provide an alternate path so that if one fails, another one can take over the same task. And along with that, after providing redundancy, we also know that what are the issues and what are the problems which are caused by redundant links. For example, mag move, broadcast storm, loops are formed. So how to cope with those problems is we will use one protocol called spanning tree protocol. So spanning tree protocol is used to avoid issues which are created when we use redundant links. So this is an example topology. We have three switches which are forming a loop. Switch 1 connected to switch 2 and switch 3. Switch 1 is connected to switch 2, port P1 and port P1. Or we can say switch 1 port P1 is connected to switch 2's port P1 and switch 1's port P2 is connected to switch 3's port P1. Switch 2's port P2 and switch 3's port P2 are connected together. So they are forming a loop this way. This is a loop. We have PC1 having MAC address A connected with port P3 of switch 2 and PC2 having MAC address B connected with port P3 of switch 3. Along with that, we have MAC addresses of the switch. Switch 1 having MAC address C, switch 2 having MAC address D and switch 3 having MAC address C. Initially, these are the MAC address tables which are empty. Okay, let's see first how. As soon as these three switches are booted up, we have to assume that spanning tree protocol is enabled on these three switches. As soon as they are booted up, the first way or first step I will say to converge this loop is to first find out the root bridge. Okay? So, and to finding out a root bridge, this complete procedure is called root var. It is termed as root var. So, we will elect the root bridge first. How we will elect the root bridge? We have a very important parameter called root bridge ID. Root bridge ID. Let's see what is bridge ID. It is an 8-byte field which consists of two parts, priority of 2 bytes and I think MAC address, okay? 2 parts. 6 bytes of MAC address and 2 bytes of priority. This is the bridge ID of 8 bytes, okay? Every switch is given a bridge ID and the default spanning tree priority for every bridge is 32768. That is to be calculated when how we will calculate 2 power 16 is equals to 65536 divided by 2. So what we get is the default priority, default STP priority for every bridge is 32768 along with the MAC address field. So how we will elect a root bridge on the basis of bridge ID? We must say that which bridge ID is to be preferred. Switch 1 will be having, switch 2 will be having and switch 3 will be having. How we will elect the better one? So the better bridge ID is the one with lowest priority. The bridge ID having lowest priority will be the best. But in this case, if we have the default priority to be set as 32768 for each switches, we will then use the lowest MAC address. So lowest MAC address comes into action when the priority of every switch is 32768. So let us assume that each switch is configured with the same priority, that is 32768. So the bridge ID for switch 1 becomes 32768 along with the MAC address C. Bridge ID for switch 2 becomes 32768 along with MAC address D. And bridge ID for switch 3 becomes 32768 along with MAC address E. Fine. Now the root var takes place. How root var takes place? When these switches are booted up, they assume themselves as the root bridge. They assume themselves that they are the root bridge. Okay. So they are the root bridge. They start sending BPDUs toward their active interface. What are BPDUs? Bridge protocol data units, which contain some fields. Let us see BPDU also. The first field of BPDU is root bridge ID. Root bridge ID. Second field is root path cost. Root path cost. And third field is sender's bridge ID. Okay. There are few other fields. For now, we don't need those fields. We know those fields. So this is a cut out of BPDU. A cut of BPDU. So as soon as switch 1, switch 2, switch 3 boots up, they start sending their BPDUs towards their all active interfaces. Let's see how switch 1 will send it. Port P1 and port P2 are active. It will send a BPDU towards switch 2 and switch 3. Let us consider this segment first, segment between switch 1 and switch 2. Switch 1 will send a BPDU with root bridge ID as 32768 plus C. Root path cost. Okay, root path cost is the cost. Generally, every link is given a cost. I will give it assuming that the link is having a cost of 10. Generally, it does not have that exact cost 10. It is having values like 100, 4 and 2. We'll assume it as 10. This is the root path cost. Root path cost is what? Root path cost is the cost of the link to reach the root bridge. Assuming that switch 1 is assuming itself as the root bridge, so the cost or the path cost from itself is 0. So definitely it will send what? 32768 plus C in root bridge ID, RPC or root path cost as 0 because the distance from itself is 0. And the sender bridge ID, it is itself the sender, so 32768 plus C. It will send this BPDU towards switch 2. Similarly, switch 2 will be sending a BPDU towards switch 1 and definitely towards switch 2. Switch 3, but we are considering this segment first. So switch 2 will send what? 32768 plus D, assuming itself as the root bridge, RPC 0 again, and sender bridge ID as 32768 plus D. Fine. Switch 2 received a BPDU from switch 1 and has sent the BPDU towards switch 1. It is having 2 BPDUs. Similarly, switch 1 is also having 2 BPDUs. It will compare first the received and sent BPDUs in case of this segment, this part, switch 1 and switch 2. It comes to know that the root bridge ID of the one it received is 32768 plus D and the one it sent is 32768 plus C. Default priority, so we'll ignore this priority field and we'll check that the MAC address of switch 1 is less than that of switch 2. So switch 1 says I am the root bridge in this segment for now because there is a scenario left for that side. Switch 1 for now says that I am the root bridge and switch 2 stops sending BPDU towards switch 1. There is no scenario clear in this case, but it stops sending BPDU towards switch 1. Let us consider the same case in this segment between switch 1 and switch 3. We have 2 BPDUs. Switch 1 will send one and will receive one. Will send one and will receive one. Switch 1 will first send a BPDU with root bridge ID again 32768 plus C, RPC 0 and sender's bridge ID 32768 plus C. Fine. It will receive a BPDU from switch 3 through port P2. What switch 3 will send is 32768 plus E as its root bridge ID, RPC again 0 and sender's bridge ID as 32768 plus E. Switch 1 again is having 2 BPDUs, one it sent towards switch 3 and one it received from switch 3. Similarly, switch 3 is having also 2 BPDUs. Switch 1 will compare the BPDU it sent towards switch 3 and the one it received. It will again find out that the root bridge ID of itself, its own root bridge ID, 32768 plus C is better than that of 32768 plus E because C is less than E in case of MAC addresses. So again, in this segment also we come to know that switch 1 is having a better BPDU. So it becomes the root bridge for this segment also. For now, a single loop contains a single root bridge. For explanation terms, I am telling that for this segment. So switch 1 will first check that, okay, it is the root bridge ID now for this segment also. So switch 3 will stop sending BPDUs toward this side. So for both the switches, we have a single root bridge, okay, which is having ID 32768 plus C. A single loop, a single network contains a single root bridge ID. So now we have 2 non-root bridges. Let us first see designated ports. What are designated ports? Every root bridge is having a designated port. Every port, I say every port of a root bridge is a designated port. What are designated ports? Designated ports are the ports with forwarding state which are allowed to send BPDUs through them, which allows to send BPDUs or control frames through them, along with they can allow data frames to pass through. So switch 1 will send a BPDU through its designated port P1 and a BPDU from designated port P2. Fine. Now we have to elect another term called root port. We will elect root port on every non-root bridges, and every non-root bridge will contain a single root port. So let us see how we will elect root port on switch 2. We'll again use the BPDUs here. Switch 1 is sending a BPDU with 32768 plus C as its root bridge ID, root path cost as 0, and sender bridge ID as 32768 plus C towards this port P1. So switch 2 is receiving a BPDU at port P1. Similarly, it will receive a BPDU through this path at port P2. What it will receive through port P2 is root bridge ID of 32768 plus C, RPC. Here it will become 0, and now after this switch 3 will send with RPC of 10 because it adds the cost of link, okay, and the sender bridge ID definitely 32768 plus E. So we have two BPDUs received. Let us compare those two BPDUs. The better one will be used to elect the root port. So the root bridge ID remains same because this from here also and from here also the root bridge ID remains same, that is 32768 plus C. RPC comes into action. Here the RPC is 0. Here the RPC advertises 10. So the better RPC is the value as the one with lower value. 0 is better. So switch 2 will term this port as its root port. Okay. So this way we have a root port on switch 2 at port P1. Now root port is allowed to receive BPDUs and data frames through it. Okay. It also allowed to pass them, pass data frames through root port. Similarly, we elect a root port at switch 3. We have two types of BPDUs, or say two BPDUs received, one at P1 and one at port P2. Let's see what it receives at port P1. 32768 plus C root bridge ID, RPC 0, and sender's bridge ID of 32768 plus C. It keeps it here. It will receive a BPDU through this way. Okay. So what we get here is 32768 plus C root bridge ID. We get root path cost as 0, and then it sends with 10 adding a host, and then sender bridge ID changes to 32768 plus D, okay, because switch 2 is sending. So again, comparing these two BPDUs, we are clearly we can say that the RPC received at this port is better than the RPC received at this port. So switch 3 will term port P1 as its root port. Okay. We have a designated port and root port, DP and RP, okay, at this both two segments. But every segment must contain a designated port. So we have to elect a designated port here also, and along with that, we need to break the loop also. There is still a loop among these switches. So we will break the loop. How we will break the loop? We will first elect the DP at switch 2 or either at switch 3. Let's see who will become the DP, okay. Again, we will compare the BPDUs. What BPDU switch 2 will send towards P2? Root bridge ID as 32768 plus C, root path cost as 10, and sender's bridge ID as 32768 plus D. This way, okay? And what switch 3 will send is root bridge ID 32768 plus C, RPC 10 again, and sender's bridge ID 32768 plus E. So we are sending two BPDUs, this way and this way. First two fields, root bridge ID and root path cost, are same in both these cases, 32768 plus C and 10. So what will break the tie is the sender's bridge ID. Sender's bridge ID of switch 2 is 32768 plus D, and switch 3 is 32768 plus E. D is better than E. So D will, switch 2 will term its port P2 as its designated port. Okay. So we have elected a designated port here in this segment also, and since we are having root ports on each bridge, the only left port is non-designated port, NDP. So NDP will logically break a loop, okay? Non-designated port will logically break the loop by disallowing or say not allowing the traffic to pass through it. It will not allow the traffic to pass through it. Any frame going through this path will be dropped here, and any frame going through this path will be dropped here. No chance that it will pass through this. So in this way we break the loop. Now we have the logical topology looking like this. Let's see how the logical topology looks. We have switch 1 here. This is the switch 1 connected to switch 2. And then, not this path, this is broken. Sorry, this is switch 2. Switch 3. And this is the broken path here, logically broken. If in case any of these two paths fails, this will come into action. This will come and this some changes will take place, and this link will be available for to transfer data. So now if PC1 wants to send some data to PC2, so let's see how this works. PC1 will form a frame with destination MAC B and source MAC A will transmit this onto towards switch 2. Switch 2 will learn MAC address very easily at port P3. Okay, no problem. Since this side is logically broken, this link is logically broken, it will transfer this towards switch 1. Fine. Switch 1 will receive it. Switch 1 will see again the source MAC it will learn. It will learn source MAC A at port P1. No problem. Alright. But before that, let us see that we didn't check the destination MAC address. So switch to what we'll do is check the destination MAC address. No destination MAC address of the frame is there in its MAC address table. So switch 2 will flood it. We cannot flood it there because this link is logically broken. Even if it floods, the data will be dropped here. So this will flood it towards that side. Switch 1 will again receive, as I said, it will learn MAC address A at port P1, no problem. Again there is no entry of destination MAC address B in its MAC table. So switch 1 will also flood. Switch 1 will flood this way because it is the only active path. Okay, it cannot flood it back. No chance. So this way it will flood. Again switch 3 will receive it. It will check the source MAC address. No entry in the source MAC table. It learns A at P1. No problem. We'll now check the destination MAC address, which is B. No entry of destination MAC address B in its MAC table. It will flood it towards this side. Flood it towards this side, but it cannot flood it towards NDB because it does not allow it. So switch 3 will flood it here. PC2 will check the destination MAC address of the frame to be B. Will accept it. So this way, the packet or the frame travels this path. No loops, no MAC move, no broadcast stop. This is how spanning tree resolves the issues created by the redundant links.